All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode. I'm here with Colleen.
Hello, everyone.
And we're so excited to have back Molly McCord. Had her on the podcast a few times and always love these episodes with her. So welcome, Molly.
Thank you both for having me. I always love connecting with you and your audience. So thank you.
We're so grateful, and you're such a wealth of knowledge. Both Colleen and I follow all her things. So it's always nice to also be able to talk to you in person. And if you're not following all her things, which I'll say in a moment, go follow all her things. Okay. So we'll go ahead and just read your bio, and then we will dive in. For Colleen and I, if you need anything from us, we are at reikilifestyle.com. I think by the time this releases, we'll have already kind of taught all of our classes for the year. We're going to be heading into the holidays. But we do have in January 2024, we will have our Next Step Reiki and our Explore the 12 Heavens classes. Registration is open for that. So you can go ahead and find that at reikilifestyle.com. And then we have an Animal Reiki 1 and 2 and an Animal Reiki Master in January. And then Colleen is teaching all classes 1 and 2, Master and Karuna, right? In February.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. Find that all at reikilifestyle.com. Okay. So let's go ahead and,
just add one thing.
Oh, yeah.
The burning bowl ceremony is going to be January 9th.
January 9th. We will be doing our annual burning bowl ceremony. Yeah. And that is, we do that online, on Zoom during the distance Reiki share. And that is such an amazing opportunity to let go of anything that you don't want to be bringing into 2024, which that's what we're talking today with Molly about. So it's going to be a really interesting, to see that relationship there. And then also bringing in the things that you want to bring in for 2024. So, yeah. Okay. We'll send out links to our newsletter for that. All right. Molly McCord, MA, is a professional astrologer who has been studying and practicing Western tropical astrology for over 30 years. She's a best-selling author of 10 books, professional intuitive astrologer, podcaster, business strategist, and modern consciousness teacher. Molly has been hosting her popular podcast, Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord, for 11 years to support people around the world with tapping into their own cosmic energies and power. Molly has a BA in political science and women's studies and a master's in international relations and diplomacy as a formal channel for understanding global consciousness with a Jungian perspective. With over 25 years of sales, marketing, business development, and leadership experience, Molly aims to support more entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, healers, and authors build their dream business in practical, solid ways. You can find her at Molly McCord, and McCord is MCCORD.online. Her Insta is Moxie Molly 11 Astrology. Her Facebook is conscious.cool.chic or chick. Chic?
Chic, yeah.
CHIC. YouTube is at Molly McCord Astrology. And then the podcast is Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. And then her TikTok is at Molly McCord Astrology. I think if you just go to her website or Google her or search her on any of the things, you're going to find her. So you're going to find her. So you're most active on your podcast, your Insta, and your YouTube, right, Molly?
Yeah, correct. And my podcast is twice a week. It's every Monday and Wednesdays. And I post it through YouTube and then also Spotify, Google, Apple, Amazon, all the typical distribution sites. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And I highly recommend that you get on her email list so you get notifications. Because seriously, I'll open my email and it's like, oh, good. Here's another one.
That's what's been going on.
That's it. Oh, that explains everything.
Explains so much. I also like to listen to your podcast. Commuting's a big one for people to listen to podcasts, but I like it at the gym too. So
thank you. Yeah, I actually, maybe you guys hear this too, but people listen everywhere to podcasts. It's really cool to hear what their habits are with how they listen. If they go for a walk, they're driving in the car, they're in the kitchen cooking. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
yeah. Awesome. Well, we are here to talk about the astrological themes in 2024. So I know
Yes.
we talked about it slightly before we started the recording, and I am really excited to hear what you expand into what you were talking about, especially after this very intense October. And
Oh,
this
wow.
very intense eclipse season,
Yes.
2024. Let's hear what's going on with
Yes,
that.
we had intense eclipses in October 2023. And eclipses are always about activations and propelling us forward in some manner, really looking at what stays, what goes, how we need to change something in our life to move forward. And as we move into 2024, one of the biggest energies is that Pluto enters Aquarius January 21st, and it will stay in Aquarius for the majority of the year. Now, this is different than what we went through in 2023, where Pluto was in Aquarius for only a few months or so. Now it moves more fully into Aquarius. And really, what the universe is asking us individually and collectively is to step up, to really step up into your gifts, your knowingness, what you've been working with, working through, perhaps even formulating. Now is the time to own it in a whole new way, because Pluto is about the individual and the collective. And this is the energy that's moving us forward into some new chapters in our lives that are quite significant, but also honoring what we have been required to change, shift, and basically accelerate through as well. Because Pluto in Aquarius is going to have faster moving energies. Things are going to pick up the pace. And perhaps you're even feeling that when you look back on 2023, where it's like, wow, what a fast year. And I feel like we say that every year, but it's like things just keep speeding up. And as we move into 2024, it's going to even feel like you're living at times out of the time and space continuum, like you're outside of time, or just can feel like some days you have more time to get things done. And other days you could feel like, wow, that went really fast. I don't even know what I did today. I feel like that's part of the quantum component of 2024. We're going to be feeling the energies in a whole different way that, yes, can feel quite overwhelming at times, but it's showing us more of what we're capable of. And there is a sense here of also a freshness, like a new energy coming in 2024 that we haven't felt in a while. We really haven't been in this energetic playground where things can feel lighter and looser and more open. And I feel it as being quite multidimensional as well. Like it's activating more of our multidimensional energies, where you could feel like, okay, I've been in this very intense understanding of my intuition. I've been working very deliberately with my body. I've been very aware of my professional skills and what's going on in my family or relationships. I mean, we have all these areas of our lives that, create our lives. And this multidimensional energy is going to bring up some new things for us to work with in a way that we haven't experienced before in this lifetime. So that's one thing to really note here about 2024. We're entering into new territory. We haven't been here before. It's going to feel like there's more multidimensional energies available to us. It's going to feel like it moves faster. And again, it can feel like you're out of like that time space energy where things just happen outside of standard time or how you've typically done them. So that'd be one of the first things I want to share about the new year.
Well, thank you so much about explaining about the time. I know, like you said, we say that every year, but I can't, it's like, it's not just me personally, but the amount of us, especially those that are kind of in these modalities that are really consciously like paying attention to the time space.
Yeah.
Talked about, not just this year, which that makes sense with Pluto moving into Aquarius in the beginning of the year, but then also it's really helpful to be able to recognize that for 2024, because I feel like it'll be really helpful. And in modalities where we try to stay as present as possible, it is one of those things that it's like there is that somewhat juxtaposition of that energy, and then yet this speeding up of time that we are all feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting and confusing. You know, it can be like the full spectrum. And Pluto has been in Capricorn since about 2008, 2009. And Pluto in Capricorn has been deeply working with any of your personal planets in Capricorn. And so Capricorn is about, you know, what we can rely on. It is a mutable earth sign, cardinal earth sign that wants to get things figured out. What's the known plan? It can be more traditional, more conservative, more like, let's take it slow. Let's look at what we've got here. But when Pluto moves into Aquarius, Aquarius is rebellious and it's unconventional. Like, let's not do things how we've always done them. Let's spice it up. Let's mix it up. Let's look at this in a whole new way. Let's throw out everything that we thought was going to work and try it from a different perspective. The Aquarius energy wants to think differently, wants to think outside the box. And so there's going to be parts of ourselves that will be required, in fact, even pushed in some new areas and new expressions that we have never felt before. We've never done it this way before. And we're going to see it in the world at large, but at an individual level, I feel like so many people who are already energetically aware, they're going to maybe feel like this energy is kind of easier for them because it opens up things that we can do in our own way. We can do in our own style. We don't have to stick to like known methods or only one way of doing something. We can really go beyond what we thought was possible. So there's a lot of growth here. There's a lot of empowerment as well for those who are in what we would call more of the esoteric arts, where we're working with energy, astrology, we're understanding how things can come together and how everything is energetic. This is going to help us really step into more mastery. I also feel like one of the big themes of next year is that with not only Pluto going into Aquarius, but we're going to have Jupiter moving into Gemini, which is another air sign. And it's the student and the teacher. It's communications. It's activating throat chakra. It's what you need to say, speak, teach, learn. It's very cerebral. It's very social. So this is also a year when you could really connect with more people who feel like members of your soul tribe, who have the same interests. This is going to be great energy for teaching, for traveling, for studying, for learning. We're going to feel like we're just interested in more things. We want to understand more of what's going on. And we're going to want to expand in new ways. So there's a lot of energy here that also can feel like you just could even feel like you're ready for something. Even if you don't know what it is, you're just ready to go. You're ready to learn. You're ready to travel. You want to plan something. This is energy that gets things moving. So if you have felt stagnant or you have felt like it's been more difficult, perhaps to plan a trip or take a class or do a class, host a retreat, this energy is going to help with bringing those pieces together in 2024.
Well, that's so interesting, especially coming out of the pandemic, the fact that Jupiter is moving into Gemini. And like you said, that idea of traveling, social, all of those things. It's like, that's what an interesting shift. I don't even know.
It is because it's almost like the things we had to put on the back burner or things we had to just wait and just see how it goes. I feel like there's also going to be more of a desire for people to just get out and socialize. But this feels like there could be an intentionality behind it, where it's like, but I really want to connect with people who love what I love, or who want to be in a book club, or who want to travel intentionally. Like, there's things that have changed us deeply in terms of our lifestyle and our energies and what we want to put our energy towards. And I think that 2024 is going to be an opportunity to try something new. And Jupiter in Gemini, it doesn't stick around long term. It's like the short term things. It's like the shorter staycations or the shorter trips. It's wanting to, check out different books from different parts of the library, but you don't want to be checking out War and Peace. You want something that's a little bit lighter and easier to move through. So there's a lightness with this energy. There's a sense of, well, let me just try it. Let me just sample it. And Jupiter moves into Gemini in late May 2024, where it will stay until June 2025. So that could be, especially let's say next summer in the Northern Hemisphere, next June and so on, is where we're really going to be like, yeah, I just want to try it. I just want to go for it. There's just going to be more desire to socialize and really feel like I'm learning something. I'm understanding something. It's very satisfying for the mind.
So what I'm hearing from a Reiki standpoint is to just simply invite curiosity.
Beautiful.
And
yes.
What a time to reactivate your curiosity, your imagination.
Yes, exactly. And curiosity is a key word for Gemini energy, where you just want to try it. It's kind of like, why not? There can be an innocence to it, a playfulness, and just a sense of, let's just see where this goes. So there can be some new openings, like the topics you never thought you'd be interested in, or something just feels like it's energetically pulling at you. And that could be because there's something beneficial to follow. So yes, I love that, Colleen. It is about the curiosity.
Yeah, maybe without agenda. Like,
yes.
And without big agenda, it's one thing, but just no agenda, just curious.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it too. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I love the idea of the intentionality behind it too, because as soon as you said that, there was kind of a settling with it, that there's this idea. It's not, maybe for some it'll just be for the sake of it, but this idea that there is this intentionality underneath of the searching for, or not searching, but like you said, just the idea of maybe there's this soul tribe that's coming in, or you're going places to commune with the world, the earth, and in ways, or like you said, Colleen, with just the curiosity, maybe that's the result of it. But you can feel the flow in that idea behind it as well.
Yeah. And the intentionality is important because Jupiter being the biggest planet in our solar system and being in Gemini, it can be very scattered, or you could be almost overwhelmed with choices, overwhelmed with what decision should I make? What do I want to do? And you could be stuck in overthinking it. Whereas if you really ground into your own intentionality, you're going to have clarity. You're going to know the direction to go or what really calls to you the most. So I feel like that's important. And then another strong theme of 2024 is that we're going to have both Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And that's where they've been in 2023 as well. But they move further into Pisces. And Pisces is the energy of what we need to release and surrender to, especially in the physical world, because Pisces is the energy of dissolving and transcending. It's where we rise above and we understand energetically what we've been moving through. So this can bring up some things that you're already feeling and sensing are closing out for you. That you're done with something, the energy is dying out, you're not wanting to renew, you're not wanting to resubscribe. There's things where you could feel like, I don't think I want to do that anymore. I'm just going to close out what is going on here because I can feel that there is some level of completion. And it does depend, of course, on your natal astrology chart where you have Pisces energies. But this is in the collective, this is a collective energy too, that really wants us to make our health, our well-being, and how we use energy a priority. So that is a big theme of 2024, is to still look at, what do I need to feel energetically strong? What do I need that will support my energy? Pisces does relate to the immune system, to things that we don't see, but that we catch, through others, not just through, health, but the energy that we absorb and what we feel even in each other's aura. So we're becoming more energetically astute. We're becoming more energetically aware of, does this lift me up, or does this really exhaust me and make me tired? How am I feeling about this? And really tapping into those messages are going to continue to be important in 2024.
What was that saying that they taught Luna at school, Robyn? Does this fill up my basket or take it out of something? Do you remember?
Yeah, they teach, are you filling people's buckets, or are you emptying people's buckets?
Yeah.
A filling of your bucket or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And with this energy, there is the need as well to look at the boundaries around what is good for you or what is depleting you. And this is also where we're going to be more responsible with our energy. And we're going to have to be more aware of how we say no, no, thank you. I can't commit to that anymore. I can't be on the PTA. I can't manage all this stuff at work. This is where we're looking at, again, what is correct for your energy and what's not, but it's often what we learn through experiences. So let's say you volunteered to be the treasurer of the HOA and you're realizing, yeah, I can't do that anymore. I'm going to need to pass next time around. We're going to have a turnover in our responsibilities. We're going to have parts of our lives that we don't want to put energy towards anymore. And you could already be sensing this. You could be feeling this, but there's things that we're going to have to take care of in a responsible way, and honor that you're also going to be on the receiving end of those choices from other people, right? And they're like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, or I can't show up for that anymore. So it's going to require us to remain adaptable, flexible, and also have a lightness, like just honor that, yes, okay, they don't have room, they don't have capacity, this isn't for them anymore. But we're going to see that as well, is that there's things we're going to be stepping away from. And that's part of the overall energy of the year as well.
Boy, I like the awareness of that can also be in reverse.
Yeah.
To have that understanding that it's probably not personal.
Right.
It's just, another person doing the same thing. I just need to do things this way now.
Yes. And there's something too where if you are able to remain in the higher perspective of it, because Pisces is the last sign of the astrological wheel, what it does is it helps prepare us for the new energies that will be coming in when both Saturn and Neptune move into Aries and they have their conjunction and dance. And that will be in 2026. I believe the middle of 2026. So that's a little ways off, but there's something here where the universe is bringing your attention to, what do you need to responsibly close out? What commitments do you still need to honor, but you don't want to renew? What are you understanding has served its time, served its purpose? And also, watching that dance with other people make the same decision, because then you at least have a framework for understanding it. And this is what's cool too about astrology, is that you can apply it to the astrological energies, even if no one else knows the astrology. It's sort of like it can be your own way to connect the dots and understand that, okay, this is what's happening for this individual. And I can honor that, because that's just one of the main themes right now is how we also honor our energy.
And other people's.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Colleen, as you said earlier with the curiosity, to this one to me sounds like compassion. You have compassion for self, compassion for others, which also makes sense with Pisces, that there's going to be levels of compassion that are going to be a part of that relationship with your world, essentially,
Right.
and your inner world.
And so pulling together that we've talked about, Jupiter and Gemini, and then both Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, these are mutable signs that are made to have choices and options. And so people are going to change their mind. People are going to have a second thought, or there's going to be something that comes up that they didn't see the first time, and then they see it the second time. Part of the mutable sign energy is that, yes, it's adaptable. It can also be inconsistent. It can also be restless and sort of have this, what do I choose? Like there can be a worry underneath it, like that worrying anxiety of, I don't want to mess this up. I just want to choose this. I want to do it right. And the energies are always about, trusting yourself even more, trusting what calls to you, trusting what feels like it's going to support you the most. And I feel like 2024 is going to be a playground of being gentle with ourselves around, maybe I want to try A and then try B. Maybe I want to see what happens here and then see what happens there. Where it's supposed to open up the energy. It's supposed to make it like you don't have to get it right. Like, don't be so hard on yourself that you have to, hit it out of the ballpark the first time around. Rather, just allow it to open up and just open up that energy so that you can be easier on yourself and not assume like you have to get it right or it has to be the best thing right away. So that's something about working with these mutable signs.
Or the shoulds.
Right.
Which is what gets me all the time, are the shoulds.
Yes. Yes.
Especially when there's so many possibilities.
Yes. And that's the other part of it, is that you could feel like there's an overwhelming amount of options, or there's just, what do I do? What do I choose? And, for each person, that would be a different process for them to move through, with understanding, again, their intentionality and what they want to move towards. But I feel a playfulness with this energy, a sort of like, well, let me just try this over here and sample this over there and just see what comes about, because it might not be something that you see right away. Like, it's sort of this process of like, well, let's try this and then follow the breadcrumbs to the next step. And then voila, maybe that's what you've been looking for. So again, there's a lightness with this energy where don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself room to be in those options and to play and to also trust, because the strong Pisces energy wants you to trust the energy. And part of what this could show up as is that internal push-pull between the mind and your intuition. And so the intuition is actually stronger as a focal point in the astrology, because we have the 2 planets in Pisces. And yet the Jupiter in Gemini is like wanting to know the details and think it through and have the plan together. So you could have this sense of, what do I follow, my intuition or my mind? And of course, that'll be different for each person, but it's really a focusing on trusting your intuition and trusting where the energy is speaking to you.
So can you also talk a little bit more about the practicality of Saturn with Pisces and interacting with Neptune?
Yeah. Because it's a very interesting combination of energies. Yeah. Saturn is our 3D. It's our physical world. It is our time. It's what we can do in a day. And it's what we're responsible for. It's our commitments. You got to pay the bills, but you got to go to work in order to get the paycheck or the salary. There's things like we are responsible for on a daily basis. And Saturn in Pisces brings up, what we're closing out, what we are leaving behind, what we're ending, but maybe what we've put off, where we've procrastinated, where we haven't taken care of something, where the clock is ticking and you got to get it done. And then you have this energy of Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is at home in Pisces. And so this is where we've all been tapping into more of our own energetic beingness. And it's where we've opened up to, wow, I'm sensitive, I'm an intuitive, I'm an empath. I'm more energetically aware than I knew I would be. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. So if you look at, how you have come to energetically understand yourself more since 2011, that's a big span of time to reflect upon and be like, wow, this is where I just realized, my empathic skills, or where you realized your intuitiveness and you're maybe a highly sensitive person and you didn't know that your whole life. It's like we've opened up to more of how we are energetically designed. And so when you have this Neptune in Pisces working with Saturn in Pisces, we're bringing these energies into our physical reality. We're learning to operate in our daily lives in a whole new way. We're learning what it means to trust the energy before you see the result, before you understand why. And that's hard for Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn wants to know, what's the result going to be? Where's this going? And the strong Pisces energy is like, well, just keep trusting. Just keep riding your unicorn until you see what you're going to see. And then you're going to go through the waterfall and you're going to go through the purple haze. And Saturn is like, this is not Saturn's realm. Saturn's like, I'm not getting on a unicorn until I know where it's going. So we have this very interesting integration period of bringing our intuitive energy, bringing more of what we feel into our daily lives, and allowing that to be part of how we operate, and being really trusting that in ways that we can't see yet.
I'm just so relatable.
Neptune.
I have a Pisces sun at 26 degrees. So I have been this Neptune, and Venus and Mercury at like 19 and 22 in Pisces.
Well, and your Neptune is in Pisces too, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Neptune's in Scorpio.
Yeah.
But Neptune is conjuncting it, and I'm so in it. And what you just said about that, I'm like,
this is a big deal. This is a big deal for you, Colleen. It's actually a soul level choice, because it amplifies your sun in Pisces, and it really is going to bring in new downloads of your skills, your intuition. But it also brings up all these questions, because Neptune brings up questions before answers. It can bring up loss and grief. It can bring up surrender. Like, I have to let go of all this, and I don't know why, and I don't know what's next. And those are some of the biggest lessons in trust, where, you have to let something go. The universe takes it away. And Pisces being the ocean, and the waves of the ocean, and how the energy moves in waves, and it comes in and it takes away, and then it brings in new seashells, and then it takes out the seaweed. It's like this ongoing fluctuation of energies that we don't understand. So you are in it, you're really in it. And this would be a very intentional soul choice of not only surrender, but trusting yourself even more in these very deep ways. And so anyone who has planets or points in the late degrees of Pisces, you are moving through some very significant Neptunian and Pisces experiences right now.
Yeah, and I love the question part of it, because, in fact, I just got back from Egypt.
Yes.
And that was one of the major messages I received there was, what questions do I have that I don't know how to ask? I don't even know to ask them.
Wow. Yes.
That's what you just said.
That's a beautiful way to describe the energy, because it's such a big, I don't know. And that can be really hard. There can be a discouragement with that of like, I don't know. But then when you shift the energy, it opens it up to, I don't have to know, but I will have something that comes in. It's very receptive. So it could even be that you're getting more messages, through your meditations, through, going and taking naps, through your dream state. Also, in a very this can be a very soft and gentle energy too, where the answers just creep in and arrive. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that's what I was looking for, or that's what I was seeking, but here it is out of the blue.
Well, I love that too, because the other part that you talk about, and is even in your bio, is one of the really strong messages I'm receiving is through all of this spiritual insight, intuition that I'm receiving, it's all about applying it in a practical way. Like, how does that benefit and, just expand in ways that have a practicality and beneficial, and I know that Jupiter is also that beneficial energy. So the practicality of it.
So when I look at the bigger astrological themes of 2024, since we're doing that, higher perspective approach here, we're learning to live with and live from all of our energy, to not only operate from the mind or from immediate gratification, to not only be in the body. We're learning to integrate more of our intuition and to trust where we're pulled, like to trust what we're feeling or sensing, and to also expand us in that way. So I feel like, we think about how much we have to use our brain during the day and how much we rely on our minds to make decisions. Well, what if we shift that and we're starting to become more aware of how to make choices based on the energy, based on the openness of energy, where I'm going to go over here and do this, and I don't know why, but there's something that is speaking to me that I don't understand, but I'll understand when I get there. So we're kind of flipping the script here with these energies, where we're not needing everything to be mentally understood. We're not only going with logic and reason and rationale, which are good things, but we're allowing ourselves to operate from the fullness of our energy. And I feel like this is also part of integrating masculine and feminine. So we're calling in more of these feminine embodiment practices. Like, I'm just going to trust this. And I've maybe many of you can relate to this. I've been living this way in my own life for a while. In fact, when I had to buy my house a few years ago, I wasn't planning on buying a house. I was in a 1-year lease for a condo. I was good. I was settled. But everything in my intuition was telling me, call the mortgage lender, talk to your real estate agent, just take baby steps to look for something. And it kept coming up. And so I just trusted it. I'm like, okay, I'll see what happens. Well, I found the house of my dreams on the second time out. And I was able to lock in a rate that wouldn't have been available if I stuck to what my mind had planned. So I was buying a house because the energy spoke to me, even though my mind was like, this doesn't make sense. Now you have to get out of your lease, your rental contract. And all of that worked out just fine. But I trusted the energy. I trusted my intuition because it was actually protecting me and bringing about something better that the mind did not have access to. The mind didn't see the fuller picture. So we're living from more of this. We're like, okay, this might not make any sense. This can seem so crazy, but the energy is pushing me in this direction, or the energy is showing me something that I'm curious to trust, that I want to see where it goes.
Well, and going back to what you were saying, Colleen, too, is with that, like with these tools that we are all drawn to, because I think that that's another thing that we've seen in the kind of the culture over the last not few years. It's been longer than that, but that people are turning more and more to these ways, to these tools, to these, because they are feeling that calling inside, because it's starting to open, and like you saying, the energy of the planets is matching that. And so it's like you have these tools also that you can listen at a deeper level, so that you can follow that. Oh, I know that my intuition is saying this, and either my chart or the astrology of the greater, planets, or or I'm feeling it in my meditation, or I'm able to tap into it in my meditation, or these other tools that I have that I'm using to be able to listen to this kind of less physical speak, like listening to your intuition as opposed to your head, or in conjunction with your head, I should say.
Yes, beautifully said. And I feel like this is part of our multidimensionality. This is part of our acceleration, where sometimes the mind can slow us down. If we're trying to figure it all out, we've got to know this, we want to know that. And again, there's a place for that. It's a beautiful thing, but we're moving into uncharted territory where there could be things that come up in your life, that come up at work or at home or any place in your world, that requires you to trust what you're feeling before the mind understands it, and to really live from that even more. And so some people already do that. They're further along, they get it, but this is where more people are going to be moving into this. This is that multidimensional acceleration. This is that understanding that you can trust your energy. You know, if you're getting something intuitively, there's a reason for that. You know, there's always a reason for why we are receiving something from our intuition. And there's things that we want to be able to trust more of. So I feel like it's going to be a very interesting year of looking at where is the universe pushing me forward. I call it a love nudge. It's like a love push. It's like it might be uncomfortable, but there's a reason why. And are you applying the brakes by overthinking it? Or are you willing to open up to that lightness, the playfulness that we previously discussed of, well, let's just see where it goes. Let's just see what happens here. And, you know, there are situations where that can feel like there's a bigger risk involved, or there's more things associated with it. But I feel like what we're moving into, especially if we look at the rest of the decade, the astrology of the rest of this decade is only getting faster. It's only speeding up. It's only going to feel like things are moving at a faster pace. And that's also how our own frequencies are speeding up, how we are able to hold more light, how we're able to embody more of our own truth and our knowingness and our soul's frequency, because of all the karma we've cleared and the healing work we've done and the things that we've been required to go through. You know, I always have this joke. It's like we have a dark night of the soul punch card. You're like, I've got 9 dark nights of the soul. I'm going to get the 10th one free. You know, it's like people have been in this stuff for a while, and the rest of this decade is going to move us quickly into new terrain that we're ready for, but we can't slow ourselves down. Like, we have to be ready to keep going with this pace of energy.
That was going to be my question, is like the idea that we then flow with that, or is the idea that we, I wouldn't say work harder, but be more mindful and intentional of living in the present? Like, is there...
I think it's both. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely both, because, you know, we have to remain in the present moment. That's where our body lives. That's where our heartbeat lives. That's where our pulse is. You know, we have to tune into those energetics. But the collective energy field is going to continue to pick up. And we're going to feel that. And there's a quickening in the frequencies that, again, it can feel like too much at times. You could feel really exhausted. You know, that's another thing, going back to these Pisces energies of Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. You could be like, I just have to have a nap every day, or I just feel so worn out, more tired than before. Well, it's not personal. It's the energetics of how things are moving faster and requiring more from us. So I think that we always need to be intentional, but we're going to have a new concept of living. Like, we're going to have new understandings of what it means to be living on this planet as things continue to rapidly evolve.
Be able to handle it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things we talk about so much that just all of this makes so much sense with is we have now moved into the age of the inner authority and inner truth.
Oh.
And we've actually moved across the line from the age of the outside authority telling us what to think, believe, know, to the inner authority, the inner truth, and the process of remembering how to do that.
Oh, that's so beautiful as it fits with Pluto in Aquarius, because Aquarius is knowingness. It's what you know, and it's where you're able to really step into your individuality and what you understand about yourself and offer that out to others, and to be strong in that, where sometimes that Aquarius energy is looking to belong. It looks to fit in. It's like, what group am I a part of, or what network do I need to join? You know, do I have to go to a Rotary Club in order to be a part of something? But the Pluto in Aquarius is going to help support us in feeling more empowered as individuals to trust ourselves, to trust our gifts, and that how we do it differently is exactly what's needed at this time. We don't need cookie cutter stuff. We don't need everybody doing the same thing. We need each of us to be more authentic, and to love that about ourselves. That's what the world needs more of.
To even discover that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so more people are going to discover that, or feel like they're called to that, even if it's just, you know, hobbies or passions or activities. It's sort of like understanding this is what's energetically speaking to me and trusting that.
Well, and that just ties so much into the curiosity and, you know, exploration, and each person doing it in the way that interests them.
Yeah. And there could be a freedom in that. I feel too, like for many people who identify as an empath, a light worker, a starseed, or something where maybe you even felt like a black sheep, whether that's in your family, community, or culture, there's going to be energies here that support you in your individual self. And you might not feel so alone. You might not feel like you're by yourself, because this energy is going to help you really recognize what gifts you came in with, to trust that in yourself, and to do something empowering with it, to do something that's good for you, that helps you get stronger. Because there's something about this Pluto energy where, you know, we can't stay small with Pluto. Like Pluto wants us to be in the fullness of our potential, but it's through often a very rocky, transformative process that we understand what that is or what that looks like. So we're going to have more people breaking out and breaking free from things that no longer fit them. They don't want it anymore. They're sick of it. They're tired of it. They're ready to do something different. And that's part of this rebellious energy of Pluto in Aquarius as well.
So Pluto is direct, but it's still in Capricorn. And you said it moves into Aquarius in January 21st, right? Is what you said?
Yeah. In fact, it moves into Aquarius the day that the sun moves into Aquarius in January. So it's like this big, you know, like a whole new show is starting. It's like the spotlight is on, and here we go into this new age of Aquarius energy. And it stays in Aquarius for most of 2024. It does go back to 29 degrees of Capricorn, September to mid-November. And then it fully enters Aquarius again in November 2024, and it stays there until 2044. So we have 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius energies. And that's a big deal. That's longer than we just had Pluto in Capricorn, which I believe was for 16 years or so. So yeah, we're going to have these Pluto and Aquarius energies for the next 20 years.
Well, go ahead, Robyn.
I was just going to ask, and then just real quick, you said that Neptune and Saturn move from Pisces in 2026, but Neptune's been in Pisces since 2011. I didn't realize it's been that long. That's a long, so that we'll talk about that down the road, but I was that's what I heard you say. Just wanted to
So we have strong Pisces in 2024. We talked about, Jupiter in Gemini, and then of course Pluto in Aquarius. Those are both air signs. So when we have planets moving into these air signs of Gemini and Aquarius, those are more ideas, communications, socializing, relationships, connecting with people. There can be a lot of wisdom that we share and understand with the strong air signs. We also can talk a lot and not do anything with it. So that's important to look at is, okay, if you're having all these ideas, well, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to move it forward? Is it going to be anything concrete and real? So it's also important to consider that when we're looking at the strong air signs.
And listening to your intuition about which ones you're actually going to manifest onto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do we have in store for the back half of 2024? I think we got up, other than Pluto, I think we got up to about May or June.
Yeah. So we also have coming up in the second half of 2024, we're going to have 4 eclipses throughout the year. And the eclipses are going to be 2 in Libra, 1 in Aries, and 1 in Pisces. Actually, Colleen, it might be working on it might be exactly conjunct your sun in Pisces, the Pisces eclipse coming up. But we have in the second half of the year, we're going to have a beautiful dance between all 3 outer planets. So when Pluto moves into Capricorn, it's going to make a lovely connection with Neptune in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. It's called a minor grand trine, and it's going to be beautiful from September and October, especially September and October. And there's going to be energies there around things coming to fruition and connecting. It's strong manifestation energies in the earth and water signs. It's very, very rare to have all 3 outer planets in a harmonious astrological alignment. So I feel like this can be significant at a collective level, and it's also going to be something that supports us at an individual level. I do talk about more of this in my 2024 Soul Growth Astrology program, just to let people know that it's an online program where I do a deeper dive into the energies of 2024. And it's designed for you to bring your astrology chart as I discuss all of these things and more. We talk about the Mercury retrogrades. We look at the upcoming Mars retrograde in Leo that isn't until December 2024. We talk about all these outer planets, but I help guide you to look at what it is in your chart. So I just want to throw that out there because I know this can be a lot for some people and they want more time with it. But that program is available on my website, and you can get it for only $33 when you use coupon code 2024. So I didn't want to forget to mention that, Robyn and Colleen, just so people know that if they're feeling like this is a lot of astrology, it is. But there's another way to take it like piece by piece and look at it.
That's really
so cool. Can you say the name of it again? Yeah. And because now they know it was about this, tell them exactly how.
Yeah, so it's called the 2024 Soul Growth Astrology Program. It's on my website at mollymccord.online. And it actually has 10 different teaching videos where I show you what's going on in the astrology and then ask you to look at how that's working in your own chart. And it's designed for you to come back to and visit again throughout the year. This is the 5th year I've done these annual programs, and people love them because then they come back and look at, well, what's going on for me during this Mercury retrograde? There's a whole class focused on the eclipses. So they come back to look at the eclipses. What's that?
I was going to ask that. Are the eclipses included? I'm Aries, Sun, Libra, Moon, so they're going to be hitting my chart in a certain way.
Yes, they are. It's your time. It's your time. Yeah, those are big activations for life changes and new starts and new things that you're ready for that has your name on it. So yes, there's a whole program on eclipses. There's a whole video on Pluto and Aquarius and Saturn. The whole program is over 400 minutes. So it's designed for you to keep coming back, to just it's an ongoing resource for people to access and to learn more about their chart, to learn more about how the astrology is going to work with them for the year ahead. So it's a great tool to get a heads up on, okay, what will Jupiter and Gemini bring up for me? Or what is Saturn in Pisces testing me around letting go of or taking care of? So it's a great way to get more intentional and to look at the energies in your chart, and to also have a resource that shows you, what's coming up.
That's so helpful because, you can, it's like you said, this is to retain all of this through the next year is, it's not really, and you can know that the things are happening, and yet sometimes it can be challenging to know exactly how it's interacting with your chart. And, unless astrology is a science, it's a language, it's a lot to, so unless you were trained in it, it is like, oh, okay, I need it. So anyways, because then you can, like you said, you can come back to it. Okay, when this shifts, what does that mean for me?
And it makes it personal, because it shows you where the energies are going to be working with you, as long as you know your astrology chart. So I do have to preface it, or just insert here, that it is important to already have a basic understanding of astrology, where you know the signs, houses, the planets, and the aspects. If you don't, I do have an introductory 101 astrology program that will introduce you to that, where when you take that class, I give you your astrology chart and I give you a custom report that shows you what to focus on, like what's important for you to know about your chart and to hone in on as you're getting started. So the 2024 program is it's intermediate level, where you do have to know the basics. But then you can, of course, look at, what that means for your own chart and how the energies are going to show up for you.
And how much did you say they are? Because
the 2024 program is only $33 when you use the coupon code 2024. So it's regularly $44, and then you get $11 off with the coupon code 2024. And then the introductory astrology course includes your astrology chart, your custom report, and a bunch of classes, and that one is $149.
Well, that is awesome. I'm so glad you brought it up, because I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast before. And I know those are questions people have, like, how do I find out more and get more? And of course, your podcast and your YouTube channel too. But these are, I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to do the 2020.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's so much in the world of astrology, and it can be a lot at first, and it's confusing and overwhelming. So I like to break it down to the basics, to what's essential, and to what applies to you. So that's also why the introductory class is beneficial, because then you really understand, okay, this is my sun, this is my moon, these are my important planets or signs, and all that. It just helps people get a grasp on it all.
Yeah. Well, and
that's excellent.
I even do have that basic knowledge, but I still want to do it and see it from what you teach with it.
Yeah.
And I teach very visually, just so people know. I teach so that you're looking at things. You can press pause. You can, download PDFs. You can come back. Like it's designed to really help you understand what's in front of you. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Well, and so fantastic, because like we've said, we listen to your stuff, and this and the 2024 stuff too. Like you said, it's just a bit more, it's more personal. Like you can listen to the astrological transits that are happening, but then also, help you to apply it personally. Because it's like I can listen, I can be like, oh, that's what's going on, but then to look at it exactly with my chart, that's helpful. And like Colleen said, I know the basics of mine, and I'm still wanting to run it through your other program, your basic one too.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, it can be really advantageous to become more of your own astrologer, to understand more of what this means for you, because it is something that is self-verifying. There's things that only you know about your life, your energy, who you are. And astrology helps you connect those dots. It helps you understand more of what that is and what it means to be you, and to understand your energy. So I think the more that people can connect with their astrology chart, the better off they can be in navigating their path.
Well, and even understanding the cycle they're in.
Yes.
That for me is, and the time frame with that cycle. So for me, that's one of the things that astrology is so beneficial for, is understanding my cycles. Like, I'm in this cycle. Neptune is conjuncting my sun for a very long time. It's a particular cycle, which I was super excited about. But if I wasn't already kind of dialed in with what that might mean, it could be a little bit like, okay, where'd I go?
Absolutely. I've looked at my own astrology chart for over 30 years now, and it actually has always brought me a certain level of peace, because I can depersonalize it and be like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. It helps me wrap my mind around it. It helps me trust whatever cycle I'm in, and then allows me to just make the most of it, or to look at, okay, what is the universe showing me, or what's my assignment? Or, you take ownership of it too. Like, you understand, as you said, Colleen, that the cycle you're in is your current assignment. And so then you can work with it and understand what it's about, instead of, being overwhelmed by it, perhaps.
Well, and people know of things such as like Mercury retrograde. That's a popular term in the nomenclature, and the Saturn returns. And so when we're talking about those are kind of, I would say, kind of the two popular phrases with things. And so when we're talking about cycles, we're talking about, of course, Mercury retrograde is a lot shorter. And then the Saturn return is longer. And so when we're talking about cycles and how these different interactions play or aspects play in with your chart, that's kind of the things that we're talking about, is they're talking about those. We happen to be talking about the longer ones, but that's what we talk about. And that's not just unique to your Saturn return or a Mercury retrograde. There's different aspects for all of the different planets and houses within your chart. So that's what, it can be helpful to know these things personally.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And it starts to explain so much, because when you learn the language of astrology and you understand the themes and the cycles, things start clicking, and it just has that sense of, oh, okay, well, I'm going through a lot of Uranus energy. Uranus is about surprises and chaos and feeling like your life is in a roller coaster. And if you have planets in Taurus, that has been creating instability for a number of years. Uranus entered Taurus in 2018, where it will stay until, I believe, 2025 or 2026. And so those people who have planets in Taurus, it's been shaking you up. You could feel like you're living inside a snow globe. Like, oh my gosh, what do I count on? Everything's moving and changing, and it's shocking me. But that Uranus energy wants to free you and liberate you from things that you don't truly need, that aren't really of value or aren't connected to who you are authentically. So it at least helps to explain like these cycles you're in, or what might be going on in your chart, and give you an understanding of, okay, this is why my life is like this right now, or this is why things are showing up in this way.
Or in a specific Jupiter cycle, which could be expansion, can be, and then the infamous Pluto cycles.
Oh yes, the Pluto ones are, I've had a lot of those personally, so I know this one well. But it's intense. It's intense with Pluto, and those are the ones where I always recommend buying a book specifically on that planet. So a book on Pluto, a book on Neptune, a book on Chiron or Saturn, because it's going to help you dig in to more of those themes. It can also just, again, explain stuff and validate what you're moving through.
That's a really good tip too, because yeah, I'll just say I'm excited for Pluto to switch signs.
Yes, me too. I'm ready for
Yeah, me
Pluto to
too.
go into Aquarius. I'm with you, Robyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, since this is going to air like right around mid-December, and between now and that shift, because that's pretty big that it's happening on the solstice too. That all of that working together in January. So, is this a finishing up time? Is this where people are going to be noticing maybe more, sudden completions they didn't know were, that kind of a thing?
Definitely. And it's interesting because, towards the end of the year, we already can feel like, oh, I got to finish up some stuff before the new year. I want to clean the slate or clear off my desk. But there could be more here at a deeper level where you could really feel like you're closing out some very intense chapters. You're ending some karmic cycles. There's things that, you've learned through that you are owning more fully. Part of the Pluto in Capricorn energy that we've been in since 2008 is getting people on their truer path for work, of stepping into, like, this is the profession I want to focus on. I want to nurture, build, and grow. This is connected to my soul mission. So that's why, when we look back since 2008 until, 2023 or so, there's things that have had to shift. Like, we've had to move into these new ways of understanding our professional energy, of what matters to us for the long term. And people could be feeling that as well. It's almost like you could be feeling like, yeah, I really got to move into this trajectory or into this area that is truer for me. So I think that is going to be part of what we're feeling as 2023 closes out.
Just fascinating.
So fascinating.
And if you've done that, if you've already done that, you could be like, yes, I did it. I made the shift. I made the change. I'm so good. I feel so empowered. I feel like I'm on the right path for the first time in my life. It could have that validation. So there could even be a sense of, yes, I'm so glad I made those changes. Even if it wasn't what you chose, the universe required it, but that's part of the energy too.
Wow. Well, and just like you were saying with the Pluto, same Pluto with me too. And I was like, oh yeah, that's when this all started. Because of course,
right?
It did. Yeah. Really fast. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a great place for people with their curiosity is to spend some time with their astrology and understanding it, because it's one of the reasons we love having you here, is explaining these things. And we use Reiki energy as a modality to lift us up into these higher frequencies of these planets and the transits. So that intentionality is so beneficial to know, oh, I'm developing my intuition right now. So for those listening that are working with Reiki energy, it so specifically does that work, healing the blocks and limitations and opening the possibilities and abilities. And so really, like, the course of study with what you're offering, I think is such a great place to place their curiosity to be able to follow along through the year and know kind of, where that intentionality, what area of their life that intentionality is focused on.
Yes, exactly. Because that's going to help you make the most of it, to embrace it, to welcome it, and to also enjoy it. And we're supposed to do that with our lives. We're supposed to have the joy and the fun and things that we look forward to. And that's something else that I feel like we're meant to carry with us throughout 2024. It's like, remember your happiness, remember what gives you life, remember what lights you up, and invest in that, because that can definitely be a very important part of our intentionality.
We were just talking this morning about joy.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
The tagline for my for Reiki Lifestyle has been living the light of joy for 20 some odd years. And so we were just really talking about that, just moving into that feeling and experience of joy. So
I love it. Yeah. And we need that. In fact, I see it too as we need more of that to balance other energies on the planet. Like we need to be very intentional with our joy, with our peace, with our love, and to make sure that we're raising that energy in ourselves and we're focusing on that, because it could be easy to get swept up into all the other things that we can, see and absorb.
Oh, that's such a good point.
contribute to those frequencies.
Yeah, especially, we can be so empathic and, like you said, highly sensitive people, and yeah.
I mean, there's times I have to just step away. Like there's things on the news I don't watch. There's things that I'm just very aware of what my energy needs and where my energy goes. And that's what supports me. And so maybe that's a good final thought, to share with people, is just to like, look at what your energy needs, what does support you. Always prioritize that, because you can't go wrong, when you're really understanding more of your energy and what you need right now. That also contributes to the collective energy field.
Exactly. And if you have that strength, stability, and for me, it's a lot of just stability in self. And that's where you can make choices from, take actions from that place. And the wisdom that you're talking about that is showing up now.
Yes.
Well, and that can also shift. Sometimes you need rest. Sometimes you need joy and fun and lightness. Sometimes you need depth, and that can be based on so many different things, but your astrological perspective and astrological cycles can be one of those things.
Yes. So true. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Molly. As we always say, we always learn so much from you, and we just really appreciate too all of everything that you put out into the world and the resources and how much we can learn from you all the time. So we really, really appreciate that. And of course, having you here on the podcast again, because we know our audience loves to tune in.
Well,
lots of great comments.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, I love these conversations with both of you. Thank you for having me back. And I always intend to provide perspective and support, and for people to remember their power and their choices. And I'm always delighted to talk astrology. So thank you for having me. And I hope this helped people prepare for the gifts of the new year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So she is Molly McCord .online. And Moxie Molly at Instagram, Moxie Molly 11 Astrology at Instagram, and Molly McCord Astrology on YouTube, and then her podcast, Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. And my recommendation is that you just go on her website and get on her email list so you get the notifications of these things, because you can hear from her really the quality of information and resources that she provides. So,
and we're going to go check out those courses. So
yes,
for that.
Awesome. Thank you both.
Thank you so
much.
much,
Beautiful
Molly.
holiday season. I hope you have a great holiday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yep.
Bye.